And I know I'm talking about this like I'm planning a bank heist, but I did want my 7-cent gorgeous mandala of a paper flower, and I did know it was not mine. I'm a born clairvoyant and near-death experiencer, and I'm here to remind you that you are your best guru. Something curious happened to me today, and it happened at the oncologist office. And I was waiting to get my 15-page lab report interpreted by the doctor, and I was nervous as hell. And the staff had been awesome, and the ceiling was draped with probably 70 taped, like dangling spring flowers. It was over the top, but the sentiment was super nice, and I didn't think much about it. I'm kind of neutral on flowers. I love buttercups, and I love hydrangeas, but personally we're not getting along that great right now because I bought some and I can't even keep them alive. But amid this indifference to flowers in general, on the side table right next to me, why aren't I showing you? I'm holding my crystal, but right on the table next to me was this. So this, to me, looked like a mandala of every single one of my favorite colors with a humming golden center. This did not look so much like a flower as it did like a clairvoyant jewel. And I could not stop looking at it. I could not stop touching it. It was actually one of two that had fallen down from the curlicue paper doily strings or whatever they were. The other one had coffee on it. So I picked up this one. I'm gonna put it down now. And I just kept staring at it, waiting to be called to go into the back office. To be honest, I had an immediate reaction, as I do when I stumble upon any sort of rock or crystal as I'm walking. And I'm like, that's mine. It's like an inherent mama bear, let me bring you into the fold kind of feeling that washes over me. And so I was thinking about, I'd like to take you home with me, and you will be well loved. And in fact, I'm going to attach you to the side of my computer. So while I write my book, I'm going to have some glorious company. I started thinking it through. I was like, I really want to go up to the front desk like a 6-year-old and be like, hi, do you mind if I take this home? And I was like, no, I don't. And I looked around and I was like, is this going to be causing anyone harm? And I can tell you, the people in that waiting room, none of them were concerned with me and my friend. None of them. Everyone else was sad and scared too. So I started asking myself some more questions. You obviously feel the immediate urgency of I must adopt this. And this is the first and only time it's ever happened with anything other than a rock or crystal. And I thought, legally, no, this is not going to trigger something. I'm not going to get into legal trouble. There's not going to be any separation from my kids and me. At worst, it'll be embarrassing if a doctor sees it in my purse and is like, oh, so taking our decorations? But I really thought that one through and I was like, this guy's not going to notice. He has a really curious bedside manner. And I also thought there's about 100 of these. I consulted my conscience, even considering the legal and the practical details. And I know I'm talking about this like I'm planning a bank heist, but I did want my 7-cent gorgeous mandala of a paper flower. And I did know it was not mine. And I do know that technically speaking, that is stealing. And in the past, my God, would I have to go through at least my spouse, my best friend, a good person, several different hoops of what would my best friend think? What would this sort of person do? What would my husband think? What would my parents think of me? And having that many people up in your head demanding to be heard before you can even bat an eye is freaking exhausting. I knew I wouldn't be harming anyone. I knew this was 7-cent flower. I knew it was going to bring me long-standing, genuine joy. And this is not about being rebellious, just to prove something to yourself. Like prove, in my case, like, nobody controls me. It's not like that. There's nothing brazen about this story. This is a quiet little campfire tale. And it's also not a story about pretending not to care what's right or what's wrong. Rebel without a cause, or yes, and I know this sounds ridiculous, all of it. The whole thing, I know it does. But for decades, I would be just like Pac-Man, just asking zero questions and just automatically, mechanically munching on the next pellet of, or I shouldn't, labeled as such by every single other person in my life except me. And today, and ironically, by doing something that I technically shouldn't have done, I freaking realized how far I've actually come in my discernment, and how I had a way too long conversation with myself going through all of my personal values. It was long. It took up my entire time in the waiting room. But that's what I felt like I wanted to do. I wanted to check it from every single angle, but they were all my angles. They weren't any religion's angles or family members' angles. It was just me asking myself, what did I think? How did I feel about the situation? What did I want after having considered the consequence and potential harm it would have to anybody else, which would be unacceptable to me? So I'm not suggesting everyone should have made that choice I made today, and I'm sure there's going to be people who disagree with what I did. And that's the thing. I'm fully at peace with that. I'm fully and totally at peace with that. Like, even if someone were to be like, you're full of it, you like to talk about spiritual adulting and you just stole something, that's okay. It would not rattle me, because I went deep and thorough, and I came to a decision. I guess I came to a decision weighing my own experiences and values and experiential wisdom, and I came to a place of peace about what I was gonna do. And no, I am not good at doing things that I'm technically not supposed to do, so it was incredibly awkward. I thought I might have been caught once by the woman who took my blood pressure, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to say, and knowing I was simply going to need to be honest and say, I fell in love with this flower, I need to take it home, it's making me feel okay while being here, and that's a miracle. Just something to think about. The oddest little things. My little paper flower showed me I've come so much further than I used to be when it comes to my own agency. And that's the best news of this whole story. So thank you guys. Please like and subscribe. I will meet you in the next one.